All right, welcome in everybody. This is Sports and Money. I am Ben Parker. A tremendous good day to you and yours, wherever you may be watching us from. Thank you for joining us here for a few minutes. As most of you know, the Miami Marlins were sold last week. It's official. The owners have approved the deal, so it's going to go through. Owner Jeffrey Loria has sold the team for $1.2 billion, slightly north of the April valuation produced by Forbes of $940 million. Not unusual. Once bidders get involved, the price tag goes up. They have sold it to none other than a group led by Derek Jeter, also a businessman, Bruce Sherman from New York, who you are probably less familiar with. He is the main money behind the deal. Make no mistake about it, though, Derek Jeter is the face of this and the one that the Major League Baseball group was really dealing with. Michael Jordan has a small stake in it as well. There are a few other people with a small investment stake in this. The leaders, though, are the face of it, Derek Jeter. The money, Bruce Sherman, is the largest amount of money behind that. So Derek Jeter's first challenge is, and this is not his greatest challenge, I'm going to get to that in just a minute, but his initial challenge is to try to turn this franchise around, to try to turn them into a winner. The minor league system needs some upgrades. The on-field product needs some upgrades, and they're going to try to turn this thing into something that can compete in the East Division with the Nationals, the Braves, the Mets, and the other teams in the National League. The first question they've got to answer is the Stanton question. Now, immediately upon Jeter taking over this team, this franchise, speculation has abounded that they might be looking to move Giancarlo Stanton. Stanton, as you know, is their biggest star. He is just coming off an MVP caliber season, a tremendous year, not only 59 homers, but production across the board. He very well may end up, with the NL MVP award, and is a candidate to have several good seasons. He is just in his prime over the next few years as well. The problem for the Marlins, for any team who might be trying to look at acquiring him, is that he has the largest contract in all of North American sports. And he is under contract through about 2028. Next year, he stands to make $25 million. It is only going to go up from there. At a certain point in his contract, it's going to reach a peak of $32 million. It'll tail off toward the end of that, but it is a tremendous amount of money for the Marlins to have on their books, tremendous amount of money for any team to have on their books, and that deal is guaranteed for Stanton for the duration of that contract. Now, if Jeter decides that he does indeed want to move on from Stanton, and he's been kind of mum on that. He really is not saying, and he would be wise not to comment on that in public in any real way until he does make a decision, or in fact may consummate a trade. If he does try to move on from Stanton, he's got a couple things to deal with. Number one is the large price tag. Not just any team can afford Stanton. Not just any team will be able to take that kind of payroll on. But even for the teams that can, they then have to deal with the value that they place on a contract like that, how many prospects they're willing to give up. That will not be a huge deal for Jeter. He will be able at some point, if he does decide to move on from Stanton, he will be able to find somebody who wants that contract and is willing to give up a number of prospects in order to get Stanton, because Stanton is a bona fide star and he will produce for seasons to come. One obstacle they will have to get through if they decide to get rid of Stanton is that Stanton has a no-trade clause in his contract, one which I'm sure he would be willing to waive if he was heading to the right team. So they will also have to appease Stanton in finding a team and an organization that he is willing to go to. So the first thing they've got to deal with is the Stanton question. Once they decide that, they can then move on. Now, let me talk about what Jeter can do and then what I think his greatest challenge will be. I have no doubts Jeter is a very savvy guy. He's a very smart guy. We saw that in his playing career. We've seen it ever since he left baseball with the Players Tribune that he has been incredibly successful with, being able to manage that, develop that, and turn that into really something very big for athletes and fans alike. This guy is smart. He knows baseball. He has a tremendous amount of sense, and there's no doubt that he will be able to step in and immediately have a good effect on the Marlins. His next task will be to develop that minor league system, start getting some prospects flowing back through, then be able to see that translate on the field. Now, I have no doubt, given time, that Jeter will be able to turn the Marlins into a very consistent winner, build up that minor league system. He watched that happen with the Yankees. He was a part of it with the Yankees in the early 90s, so he's seen how it's done. And I have no doubts that Jeter will be able to turn the on-field product into a success given time, maybe even a championship or title over time. And I have no doubt that he will be able to do that. He will be able to upgrade minor league system in the years to come as well. It will take time. It is not an easy task. It is not an overnight thing. We've seen it from the Cubs. We've seen it from the Astros. We've seen it from other teams as well. It can be done. It just simply takes time. Jeter will have that time since he is part of the management group, and that is probably the way that he is going to want to go about things. Now, Jeter's greatest challenge is not going to be, can he build a winner? It's not going to be, can he trade Stanton? It's not going to be, can he keep Stanton on the payroll? It won't be, can he build up the minor league system? Jeter's greatest challenge is going to be making the city of Miami actually care about this. The attendance in Miami for the Marlins has never been kind. Even their first season, now during the first two seasons before the strike of 94, 1993, 1994, they actually had good numbers. 39,000 average coming to the game. During season 2, 1994, before the strike hit, they were averaging 34,000. While those aren't large numbers, they certainly did not lead the league in either of those years. They were good numbers to have for a franchise there in Miami. But after the strike came in 94, it's like the fans just never really came back. In 95, they were down to 24,000 on average. Even for the playoffs in the World Series in 97, the average only got up to 29,000. They were not able to break the 30,000 average mark for that season. You fast forward to 2003, when the team again went to the playoffs, again won the World Series. They were not able to climb. They were looking at, in 03, they were looking at 16,000 that year. It was an anemic number, a sick number, even for a team that was able to win the World Series. It has climbed up gradually over the past decade, but even over the past 5 years, you were only looking at an average of about 21,000. Even in the season which they introduced their new ballpark, and it is a beautiful behemoth of a ballpark with a retractable roof there in Miami. It's a beautiful stadium, perfect for that kind of weather, perfect for that kind of town. Even in their first season back, they only averaged 27,000 in that new stadium. It's been sitting around 21,000 over the past 5 years, and that is the challenge for Derek Jeter, is how to get fans in Miami to actually care about the team, even if he is able to build a winner. Now, certainly there are people in Miami who care about sports. We've seen that with the Miami Heat. And certainly the people in Florida know baseball and care about the sport of baseball. We've seen that in the minor leagues. Even when the teams come to town just for the spring exhibition games, they are often well attended. People love to come down there and look at baseball in the spring when it's just the exhibition stuff. So certainly people in Florida know their baseball. They seem to care about baseball in general, but actually getting fans in Miami to show up at the games and fix that is a problem. Another problem he's got, which he may or may not be able to upgrade, is his the TV revenue that he's getting. He's only getting $20 million a year from the Fox Sports contract. Currently, the stadium naming rights are non-existent. They're not getting any revenue off of that. So Derek Jeter's biggest problem will be trying to get the revenue coming in from TV, from a stadium naming rights, and then getting people to actually come in and buy tickets here at the stadium. If anyone can do it, it would be a guy like Derek Jeter. He is well respected in baseball. He has a great reputation with the players, with fans, with media, with owners everywhere. He has a tremendous reputation. Like I said before, he is a smart and savvy guy, but it's not going to be an easy task because baseball in Miami has never really caught on, even during the 2 seasons which they did win, and they won big, winning the World Series. They've had stars in before. This is something that they've dealt with consistently. And certainly we understand the years where the owner in previous seasons had sold off the stars, and we can certainly understand why fans would go away, but they've just never been able to really get them back in, which brings us full circle. And I want to end here with the Giancarlo Stanton question. The very reason that Stanton was brought in, the very reason that he was signed to such a huge and lucrative contract, was the idea that we can once again establish continuity with the fans in Miami. They've been burned twice before. They've watched their stars come and go. They've watched guys come through the minor league system and never be able to be re-signed. Just let them walk, and walk for very little at times, or be traded away for prospects, and those prospects be allowed to walk 3, 4, 5 years later. So when they got Stanton in, and he was a tremendous hitter, still is a tremendous hitter, the idea was we can get the fans back because they'll identify with Stanton, and because they know that the franchise is all in by putting out this kind of money. Before the Stanton deal, and before a couple of other deals that they put together, the Miami Marlins really had a reputation of not wanting to spend any money, but they did that with Stanton, and that was a big step for them. So getting rid of Stanton, just simply letting him pass on, is not just something that Jeter and the management group need to take lightly. It is something that they need to think about, because there is always the risk that putting Stanton out on the trading block and getting rid of him and getting his prospects back, no matter how good those prospects may be, they are no-name prospects at this point in time, and you may even lose more fans, you may even lose more ground before you start to really gain any of that. So that is the biggest challenge for Jeter, and he may certainly be up to that task. I wouldn't doubt him. He's got a tremendous ability off the field, as well as what he showed on the field during his Hall of Fame career. So keep an eye on that. We'll touch back base with you. This is Sports and Money. I am Ben Parker. Have a good night.